Welcome to the Autism Infocast. I'm Peter Clark, founder and chairman of the Autism Info Center. Our podcasts delve into every part of autism and neurodiversity, and we want to help you spread understanding, respect, and kindness for those whose lives are affected. Whether you're autistic yourself, or whether you know or care for someone who's autistic, or maybe you just come into contact with autistic people in everyday life. Either way, please feel free to check out our hundreds of articles, videos, books, and training courses at autisminfocenter.org. And I'll leave you now in the capable hands of today's hosts, Jemima and Theo. Over to you.
You know, we all have so many facets to who we are, right? It's like this unique tapestry.
Absolutely. Woven from countless threads.
And for an autistic person, well, autism is obviously a huge part of that tapestry, a core part of their identity.
For sure.
But it's never, ever the only part. And that's what we want to explore. Okay, let's unpack this a bit. Today, in this podcast, we're diving into something called intersectionality.
Right.
It's essentially about how autism interacts with all your other lifelong identities, your gender, your culture, maybe other disabilities, your life experiences.
And how that creates a truly unique experience of life for each person.
Exactly. And our mission really is to look at how these layers, these intersections, can sometimes lead to greater challenges.
Yeah, flight challenges.
But also how they can foster some pretty remarkable strengths. And understanding this is just so crucial, isn't it? For autistic people themselves, for their families, for support professionals, everyone, really.
It is. Because we don't acknowledge these intersections. I mean, what happens? You end up with this incomplete picture.
Yeah, kind of skewed.
Totally. Often an inaccurate understanding of someone's life. And that can lead straight to things like misdiagnosis or support that just doesn't work.
Right, because it's missing half the story.
Precisely. And it can leave people feeling completely unseen, like their full complexity isn't being recognized. We've looked at quite a few sources trying to find real examples that bring this home.
Okay, so let's maybe define things a bit more clearly first. Being autistic means experiencing the world through a unique neurological lens, doesn't it?
It does. It shapes how you communicate, how you process sensory information, sounds, lights, textures.
How you interact socially. Your brain might just process things differently, maybe more intensely, or interpret cues in ways neurotypical people might not.
It creates a unique way of being in the world.
And then intersectionality. That's the idea that all our other social identities, like our culture, gender, maybe other disabilities or specific life experiences, they don't just sit side by side.
Yeah, they overlap, they interact.
They interact, creating these unique, layered experiences. So what does this actually mean for you listening?
Well, it means understanding this isn't just academic. It's vital.
For professionals providing support, for families trying to understand.
And for autistic people themselves trying to understand their own journey.
Absolutely. Self-understanding is huge.
And building on that, viewing autism through this intersectional lens, it forces us to recognize that being autistic isn't some kind of standalone experience.
Right. It's not in a vacuum.
Exactly. It's profoundly shaped by all the other identities a person holds. Just think about it. The experience of an autistic girl versus an autistic boy. Often very different.
It's hugely different, yeah.
Or an autistic person of color compared to a white autistic person. Different societal barriers, different assumptions made about them. Or someone who's autistic and has a co-occurring condition like, say, ADHD or epilepsy. Their support needs are going to be vastly different from someone without those.
If you don't see those layers,
you risk leaving people feeling really misunderstood. Adrift, maybe, with support that doesn't fit. Fundamentally invisible, almost, in their true selves.
Okay, this is where it gets really interesting, looking at specific examples. Let's start with autism and gender.
A big one.
Yeah. It's becoming much more recognized now that autism can look quite different in girls and women compared to boys and men.
The historical bias is quite stark, isn't it?
It really is. The diagnostic models were based mostly on observing boys, which meant, unfortunately, a lot of girls just slipped through the cracks.
Undiagnosed until much later, if at all.
And something that really jumped out looking into this was this idea of masking.
Oh, yes, masking.
In autistic girls and women particularly, it's not just hiding traits, is it? It seems much more involved than that.
Oh, definitely. Research suggests it's often this highly cognitive, really exhausting process.
Like scripting conversations.
Exactly. Meticulously scripting social interactions, internalizing sensory overload instead of showing it, trying to camouflage stims. It takes a huge toll.
What stands out to you about how that impacts their actual experience?
Well, what stands out is that this intense masking can lead to really high rates of anxiety, burnout,
I can imagine.
and even misdiagnosis. They might get diagnosed with anxiety disorders, maybe eating disorders, personality disorders.
Instead of autism.
Instead of recognizing the underlying autism that's driving the need to mask so heavily in the first place.
Wow. Okay. So that naturally leads to thinking about culture, doesn't it?
It does. This raises a really important question. How does cultural background factor into all this? Diagnosis, perception.
Yeah, how does it?
Well, our sources show it impacts things significantly. How autistic behaviors are seen, whether a diagnosis is even considered or sought out.
Can you give an example?
Sure. Think about eye contact. In some Western cultures, avoiding eye contact might be flagged as a potential autistic trait, right? But in other cultures, avoiding direct eye contact, especially with elders or authority figures, is actually a sign of respect.
So it could be completely misinterpreted.
Completely. And then there's the issue of stigma. In some communities, there could be a strong stigma around disability, which might prevent families from seeking a diagnosis, maybe for fear of judgment or negative consequences within their social circle.
So does that mean the diagnostic tools themselves might be biased if they're developed in one cultural context?
That's a powerful point, and yes, it absolutely suggests that. Many tools are designed within specific cultural frameworks, usually Western ones.
So they might miss things or misinterpret things when used elsewhere.
Precisely. They can miss crucial nuances. And it's not just gender and culture impacting the experience.
No, there's more. What about co-occurring conditions?
Right. The data suggests a large majority of autistic people have at least one other condition.
Like what sort of things?
Common examples are anxiety, depression, ADHD, that's a big overlap, epilepsy, learning disabilities.
Okay. So how does that complicate things?
It creates what's sometimes called a compounded experience. The symptoms can overlap quite a bit.
Making it hard to tell what's what.
Exactly. It can be really difficult for professionals to distinguish where one condition ends and another begins, which obviously complicates diagnosis, but also ongoing management.
Because you're not just adding conditions together, are you?
No. Sometimes it feels like it creates entirely new symptom profiles because of the interaction between them.
Right. And what about other disabilities? Not just mental health or neurological conditions.
Yeah, that's another important layer. Think about an autistic person who also has a physical disability.
Okay.
Or maybe a hearing impairment, or a significant learning disability alongside their autism.
That creates a whole different set of needs, presumably.
A unique set of access needs, absolutely. An autistic person who uses a wheelchair, for example, navigates the world very differently than an ambulatory autistic person.
They face physical barriers on top of sensory or social ones?
Exactly. Distinct physical barriers plus their sensory and social landscape. It just highlights again how layered these experiences are. The challenges aren't just added up, they intertwine.
Okay, let's unpack the compounded challenges. Because this layering of identities, it can unfortunately lead to compounded discrimination too.
Sadly, yes.
An autistic person might face prejudice not just because they're autistic, but also because of their race or their gender or sexual orientation or another aspect of their identity.
It's sometimes called double discrimination, though that almost sounds too simple.
Yeah, it feels like it multiplies rather than adds up. Like an autistic person of color applying for a job. They might face unconscious bias against a communication style perceived as different because of autism.
And also face racial stereotypes or biases.
Right. And the two can get tangled up. Maybe their autistic traits get misinterpreted through that racial lens.
Leading to exclusion in ways a white autistic person might not experience in the same way. It creates these significant barriers.
In education, finding work, even getting the right health care.
It's pervasive. But what's fascinating here, and important to balance this with, is that while these challenges are absolutely profound, navigating the world from this kind of intersectional position can also foster some really unique strengths.
Okay, like what?
Well, think about the constant negotiation required. Managing multiple identity layers, especially where social norms might conflict, that can really hone cognitive flexibility.
Interesting. So like advanced problem solving.
In a way, yes. It's almost like developing a unique ability to code switch or translate between different social or cultural expectations. It fosters problem-solving skills that come from navigating really nuanced, complex systems that maybe others don't even notice.
I see. And resilience, too, I imagine.
Oh, profound resilience. And often deep empathy for others facing similar struggles because they've had to adapt and understand different perspectives in so many ways.
And the self-awareness you mentioned earlier.
That, too. Understanding your own complex identity, truly getting it, can be a source of incredible personal strength.
So bringing this all together, why is it so important that we professionals, families, everyone, embrace this more complex, intersectional view?
Well, for professionals in health, social care, education, it's really the only path to providing genuinely person-centered support.
Because a one-size-fits-all approach just won't cut it.
It will inevitably fail someone because it ignores the whole person.
Yeah.
Recognizing intersectionality allows for, hopefully, more accurate diagnosis, more effective, tailored support strategies, and just, well, better outcomes for individuals.
Yeah.
It's interesting, isn't it, how a strength like deep empathy, maybe developed through navigating all this, can also make someone more vulnerable to burnout if they're constantly giving emotional labor in environments that aren't supportive of their whole identity.
That's a really important, maybe overlooked dynamic. Wow.
And if we connect this to the bigger picture for families and friends, this kind of understanding, it fosters a deeper, much more nuanced appreciation of their loved one's actual lived experience.
Helps them see beyond just the label.
Exactly. See the individual in all their complexity.
And for autistic people themselves, what does this understanding offer them?
I think it can be incredibly empowering.
How so?
Well, it can help clarify why their experience might be different from other autistic people they know. It validates their specific, unique place in the world.
Makes sense of the differences.
Yeah. And it gives them a framework, really.
Yeah.
A framework for self-advocacy, for explaining their needs.
And maybe for finding community?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Finding communities where all parts of their identity feel seen, understood, and celebrated. Not just the autism or just the gender identity or just the cultural background, but the whole person.
That feels so important.
Which, I suppose, raises an important question for all of us, doesn't it?
It is.
Moving beyond seeing just a single label, whatever that label is, and making the effort to see the whole multifaceted person standing in front of us. That feels like a really critical step.
Towards what?
Towards creating a society that's genuinely more equitable, more understanding, and more compassionate. For everyone.
Consider how recognizing the multiple layers of identity, not just autism, in those around you might change how you interact with them or how you advocate for a more inclusive world. Thanks for listening to this Autism Infocast from the AutismInfoCenter.org.
Thank you, Jemima and Theo. I'm sure we've all learned something there today. Don't forget to visit AutismInfoCenter.org to hear our other episodes, browse our library of articles, see our inspiring range of books, watch our videos about autism and neurodiversity, and find out about training courses that can help you or your organization make the world a safer, happier, and more meaningful place for us all. If you've enjoyed what you've heard today, please feel free to spread the word about Autism Info Center. A quick mention on your socials is always appreciated. Until next time, this is Peter Clark from AutismInfoCenter.org. Have a great day.